So once again, Felger and Mazz here from Radio Row. This hour of the program is brought to you by Dedham Savings. Our coverage here at Radio Row all week long is presented by DN Van Lines. Choosing Sunday's winner is a coin flip, but choosing your move day winner is a sure bet when you move with DNVanlines.com. We are now joined by Judy Battista of the NFL Network. How are you doing, Judy? Good to see you again. How are you?
Let me get myself settled here. Awesome. How are you guys?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Super
Vegas,
Bowl is
baby.
A little bit. Wow.
Yeah?
Already too much after just 2 days?
I feel like 8 days in Las Vegas is a
It
lot.
feels like a month.
Probably a lot.
It is.
It's usually a 2-day thing. It's
right?
true.
That's what everybody said.
I'm going to move this up just a little
higher. Yes, do whatever
higher,
you
right?
want.
Okay, sorry.
Everybody, I'd never been, this is my first trip to Las Vegas anyway, and overlapping the Super Bowl with Las Vegas, I'm like,
You've
oh my
never
God.
been to Las Vegas?
No.
How's that possible?
Because I live on the East Coast, so if you want to go to like shows and that kind of, you go to Atlantic City. Yeah. So this is something. I'm like, wow, the potential for people to get in trouble at this Super Bowl is really high.
Very high. Yes, very high.
I'm like a little nervous about Thursday and Friday
Starting with
nights.
this guy on my left.
All right, so let's get right into what are you hearing about things here in New England and the Patriots. I'm completely underwhelmed with how they've restaffed this after Belichick left. I was hoping for a lot more. It feels like they've sort of piecemealed this thing together with guys who are, I don't know, not very sought after, probably very affordable. And I don't feel like there's some sort of unifying thing. You know, Alex Van Pelt, Ben McAdoo. You know, I don't feel good about the whole thing. How should I feel?
So, well, first of all, I was at the Gerard Mayo press conference, and I thought he was great. Right, like positive, lots of upbeat energy, and I thought he was also realistic about like what he knows what he doesn't know, and he knows he's going to have to lean on people who have a whole lot more experience. You know, I came away thinking the same thing. Like, I mean, they got a lot of work to do, right? Like the roster needs a lot of help, and so it's not going to be a 1 year or maybe even 2 year turnaround. I mean, this is a rebuild. They are a rebuilding team, which is something that is so foreign. You know, it's hard to imagine this in New England, but like that's what they are.
Do you
They're
think
rebuilding.
that the reason it feels sort of piecemeal is because their targets didn't want them, that they had a hard time landing coaching? We're sticking with the staff here. They did trouble landing coaching candidates.
Yeah, and I think they were probably looking for particular coaches, right? Like a young, hotshot offensive guy is probably not going there. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have many skill position players that you'd be excited about. So if you're a young guy who's looking to build your own resume, like, that's not the spot. And you've got a defensive-minded head coach, and you know that this is not going to be a quick thing. So I think that probably played into it. Having said that, I think they probably also wanted to give Mayo people with a lot of experience in the league because he doesn't have a lot of experience, and so I think you want to surround him with people whose counsel he can seek.
Are you surprised it got so bad, because I am, that it got so bad and they've had to start over, you know, at such a ground level? Like, didn't we think 5-6 years ago that, yeah, Brady wasn't going to be here forever, Belichick wouldn't be here forever, but the Patriots and the Crafts and the organization, it would be something like the Steelers or the Packers or the Ravens is another comparison. A team that can switch out even that key personnel because the organization is on such strong footing that they're always going to be good and competitive.
Yes, I would agree with everything you just said.
I can't believe they bottomed out like they bottomed out.
I would agree with that. Even when Brady left, and certainly the handwriting was on the wall there for months. I mean, it was clear Brady was unhappy. And so when he left, that part was not a surprise. The fact that there was no clear succession plan and that it took, like, when did they sign Cam Newton? You probably know the date.
Yeah, May or June, right.
Late. And so it's like, what was the plan? Like, what was the plan there?
Right.
Maybe not. That was a weird year. That was the COVID season. So, all right, I'm willing to write that off, right? That was strange. Then they get Mac, and you think, all right, this looks like it's going to be. And then, I mean, obviously, 2 seasons ago now, with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge was just a catastrophe. And while it was happening, it was like watching the train wreck, right? Like you knew this is probably going to be bad. And then it was really bad. And I could not, you're just like, I cannot believe this is happening. And then this year it was, Mac was already obviously just gone, right? Sort of beyond repair. I never thought it would end that way. I am shocked it ended the way it did. Having said that, I'm also still surprised that Bill doesn't have another job. I'm like, he does have 6 Super Bowls. Like, that doesn't count for anything anymore. I know he's 70, but whatever. Like you wouldn't hire Bill Walsh if he were around. It's like sort of bizarre. But yeah, I'm shocked they're in the spot that they're in now.
Between him and Pete Carroll, though, it's like these older coaches are now.
There's clearly a trend, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you think they're just done? And
I don't know if Bill is done. Look, the wild card to me was the Cowboys, right? Like, and that's the one we were all waiting to see because he does have a relationship with Jerry. That is the team that is the closest. They've got everything in place. You just need to get over the hump. So Mike McCarthy not having a contract extension. I was talking to some people from Dallas yesterday, not with the Cowboys, some reporters, and they were like, let's be honest, if they don't win the Super Bowl next year, out goes Mike. And then you have to assume, you inject Bill Belichick, and that takes them, you think, over the top. I mean, they've got all the pieces in place, right? They just need whatever to get there.
If I were to say to you, diagnose the collapse. Like, if you look at it and say, well, the Mac Jones thing happened and they were late on this, and do you point it all at Bill?
I mean, how do you not? He had so much control of everything. Because the real reason for the collapse is the personnel, right? He did not forget how to coach, which was clear because the defense was still playing well at the end, and they were still playing hard at the end. But the personnel, the decline of the personnel, and that was over a number of years, the missed draft picks, which, the reporters in the Boston area have chronicled really well, but like the constant missing on draft picks, the free agencies, swing and misses, like it adds up. And, and we said this all along when Brady was there. There would be years where they didn't have great talent, but you had Tom Brady, who covered up a multitude of sins. I mean, he's Tom Brady, just like what you're seeing Mahomes do right now, right? And then, so you remove that, and it's like, woo, now you see all of the holes on display, and you don't have anybody who can patch things together and hold it together. And I think that's what you saw. It took years of the personnel decisions going haywire to get to this point. But now, I mean, arguably the worst roster in the league last year, which is incredible.
Judy Battista joins us from the NFL Network. You were a writer in New York, right?
Writer in New York. I still am a writer in New York because I live in New York. But yes, I covered the Jets.
For
that was
for the Times?
For the Times.
Okay, that's right. So you've been following Belichick, Parcells for a long time, My
first day on the Jets beat was HC of the NYJ. That was my first day.
Yeah.
Holy
Which I actually had talked to Bill. I told Bill that story once, and he said to me, he goes, that wasn't really one of my best days. And I'm like, well, I feel like you probably, it's worked out for you, though, Bill. At that point, he was 3 Super Bowls in already. I'm like, I think you made the right call. It was fine.
That was my second year on the Patriots beat for the Boston Herald.
My gosh,
the Parcells-Belichick thing has been going on now for...
Yeah, decades.
Since the mid-'80s, really.
Right.
Like that. Do you think the days of that kind of guy are over?
I do. I think if you look around the league, that's just not how teams are structured anymore. And to me, look at what Amy Adams Strunk said in her statement when she fired Mike Vrabel, who's a really good young coach that people think really highly of. She's talked, collaboration, integration, those were the buzzwords. And that's what you saw around the league. People don't have that sort of football guru position anymore. They want a separate general manager or, football operations guy or whatever the title is, and then a head coach, and they want those guys to work in harmony. And I think the other thing you're seeing is they want young, sort of positive reinforcement guys. The negative reinforcement may not work with this group of players.
Yeah.
They don't want
Parcells, Belichick,
exactly.
that style
they
of coaching.
Don't want that. They want the sort of... They want Sean McVay, right, who's positive energy and upbeat, and it's okay, Sean McVay is awesome. If you get Sean McVay, that's fantastic, but, are all of these guys Sean McVay? I don't know.
Who's going to tell it like it is?
Exactly.
That's what I want to know.
And so that's why I'm amazed that Bill didn't get a job, because when you have 8 openings, 7 that he would have been eligible for, I'm like, you really think there are 7 guys? We know mathematically half of these guys are probably going to wash out in 3 years.
Right.
You don't think hiring Bill Belichick is better than some of that?
So that's the question. Knowing what you know from Belichick, do you think he'll humble himself to give up personnel, allow the owner to keep his team president or what, just come in and play a role? Do you think Bill would ever allow himself to do that?
I do think so. In the right look, I mean, he's not stupid. I mean, he's right. He's smart, and I do think he's got a decent amount of self-awareness, and he will in this situation. And I think for the right setup, like the Dallas Cowboys, for example, just to throw that out there as a hypothetical, I would think so. Like Jerry Jones will do his Jerry Jones things and do his press conferences after the games, and Will McClay would stay there in the personnel role, and Bill would be handed the keys to a roster that's loaded, and not just Dallas, but if there's another franchise. But I think for the right situation, I don't think he has given no indication that he wants to be done coaching. So I think for the right situation, yeah.
Okay.
I got to ask you about Ben McAdoo. Okay, the idea
Thank
that
you.
yeah. So seriously, because again, you obviously have roots in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like it was a disaster in New York.
He was a disaster as a head coach in New York. Let's just start there.
Okay.
He did okay. He did okay as an offensive coordinator, and he is known as a guy who's got a good eye for talent. Like he's good at that kind of evaluation, which quite frankly is a role that you need right now, because you need to restock that roster. So he's not going to be the head coach. And listen, I think Ben McAdoo, it did not work at the New York Giants, but part of it is that he took the fall for the absolute debacle of benching Eli Manning, and it went poorly, and Geno Smith, and it was just a disaster. And I do sort of feel like that was all dumped on Ben McAdoo, and it wasn't all Ben McAdoo's fault. So I don't mind that.
The thing about him having an eye for talent, I mean, this has come up. He did bench Eli for Geno Smith, but that was not but it aged well. Geno Smith is a better player than people realize.
Right, and don't forget that wasn't his decision.
You think that was Reese and ownership and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you bench Eli Manning at the New York Giants without John Mara at least giving the nod to it, right? I just can't imagine, you do that.
Okay, Judy, before I let you go, who do you like in the game and why?
Oh boy. I think the roster, I think the Niners are the more complete team. It is almost impossible to pick against Patrick Mahomes.
I agree.
It's just, it's sort of like Brady, right? I'll pick against him at your own risk. They looked as vulnerable as they have ever looked all season, and then the final few games of the regular season, and just like the Patriots did in some of those Super Bowl runs, the playoffs started, and boom, there's Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to just rip your heart out.
Judy, thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
It's great to see you guys.
Watch Judy Battista on the NFL Network, NFL.com, all that. Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Right, purple suits you.
I actually saw myself on camera and thought, this might be too much like a grape. I'm not sure about that.
We call her El Gramacio. Okay,